comes in at 215, it's like, that's that's where you go to instant replay.
Well, it's interesting because you mentioned it earlier. The next debate was going to be a huge debate. Is going to be here in California at the Reagan Library, and you know, my understanding, and I apologize for not having done the homework on this, but the rules are going to get a little tougher, right? For who's going to be on
Yep.
stage. So
Both the
it's got to
polling,
be,
yeah, the
yeah.
polling and the amount of donors, the amount of money and the amount of donors goes up. I think you have to have 3% nationwide, or certain 3% in certain states to be able to qualify. A larger amount of donors overall, a larger amount of donors per state, and a larger amount of money to raise the credibility. So I think that the challenge there is going to be, I think the main ones will still be there. I think both the governor of North Dakota, who, by the way, I thought was a pretty good guy the other
Yeah.
night. I thought North Dakota, who's the governor of North Dakota running for president, but he was a common sense guy.
Yeah.
Burgum, and I think the former governor of Arkansas, Asa, are probably going to be challenged to make it to the stage. But I would expect the rest: Christie, Pence, Nikki, Tim Scott, and DeSantis to be there. Okay.
Well, it's going to be big
And
because
Vivek,
not
obviously.
right. Not only do you have the debate over at the Reagan Library, but then the following day you've got a lot of those candidates that are going to be at the California Republican Party convention,
Hmm.
which just happens to coincide. You've got the Simi Valley with the debate, and then you go over to Anaheim for the convention, and it's gonna be a week or two of highlighting a lot of things. Here in California, you've got Nancy Pelosi, you've got House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, and others saying, California, it's the who controls Congress will run through California, especially with the amount of contested races that we're going to have in this state. We now move to, California has moved its primary, and now we are part of Super Tuesday. Before, our primary was in June, and by the time it got to June,
Right.
the nominee had already been selected. But now,
Right.
by moving it over into March, March 2nd, I believe is the date, now it matters. And the reason why it matters, especially when you look at the Republican side, is Republicans have in California 169 delegates, the most delegates of
Right.
any other state. And so, there's a make it or break it for that particular day. There is the sense of, you've got all these candidates after the debate going out to court Republicans, at the convention to talk to their
Hmm.
to the leadership, the organizational leadership, not just of the party itself, but the volunteer organizations. Um, and so I think it's a good spotlight for California. It's a good spotlight for Jessica, who's the chairwoman, Jessica Milan Patterson, the chairwoman of the California Republican Party, and kind of a lot of the efforts that she's done over the last couple of years to kind of try to turn this party around and make it more relevant. Um, and so a lot of that is going to it's going to be in the spotlight.
It's going to be relevant as hell
Yeah.
in a month, at the end of September, because you're right. I mean, it was a nice twist that it lines up, but the reality is moving 169 delegates up, having the primary system here, and you know it better than I do on the Republican side. If I understood it correctly, it's like unless some one candidate gets 50% plus one of the vote, then it's apportioned by congressional districts. If someone gets 50% plus one, it's winner take all. And so, you'll see battles taking place in places you don't have a whole lot of Republicans, if that's the case. I will tell you, I mean, here in Pasadena, I've already had two lit drops at my house because, we're registered Republicans for Ron DeSantis. I mean, I thought it was some guy that wanted to roof my house. It was this huge thing for Ron DeSantis. I was like, holy jeez. So it is absolutely relevant from the presidential standpoint, and it's also very relevant, as you mentioned, from the congressional standpoint. Um, Republicans control the House now because of what happened in California in
Yeah.
2022. And what people need to understand from a political standpoint is what happened in 2022 didn't happen in 2022 It happened with work that started well before 2022. Um, the candidates like Garcia and Michelle Steele, Young Kim, and the folks up in the north, um, they are great representatives of the community that they're running in. That's
Right.
number one. What the thought was on some of these bigger races nationally in 2022 was get people with a big name and a big checkbook.
Right.
Mehmet Oz in Pennsylvania, perfect example of that. Blake Masters in Arizona, perfect example of that. And what happened was they didn't necessarily represent their constituency. What you have with our congressional candidates that have run and have won, and now with Katie Porter running for the Senate and that Orange County seat being open for Scott Baugh, I think that's another one that they can pick up. You've got people who represent they look like, they sound like they represent their community. They talk about things that are related to their community, not about some of the things you might see on Fox News. I think that's a huge difference that the Republicans need to understand. And I think, the party has been able to, even though it's limited, it doesn't have as much money as the Democrats. It sure doesn't have the kind of coordinated support Democrats have with the unions, teachers' unions, labor unions. What they've been able to do is take what resources they have and focus them on making a difference, rather than trying to be everything to everybody. And it has made a difference in 22. We wouldn't have won. I don't think we would have won the House without the wins in California. And I think in 24 they should be able to do it again. They have a proven model that works. And I think
And they're out
I
there,
think they
and
will.
they're out there right now. They're
Exactly.
out there. I mean, they connected over with me to help out with the campaign management college that they're putting together. I mean, training up people on grassroots, on fundraising, on communications. They're training people. I mean, they're training these campaign workers on how to speak to diverse communities. They're training them up on on best practices. They're bringing in practitioners from all over the place to do this. Not only that, but I mean, the people you mentioned, which was like Duarte, Valadeo, Kim, they're out there recruiting right now. They just got to run in the congressional district number 9, Kevin Lincoln, who's part Hispanic, part black, Marine,
Hmm.
who was a pastor, who was guarding Marine One, and so you've got people like that are community based. I mean, grew up and lives in Stockton, in the Stockton area, and I mean, you got individuals that they're going out there recruiting to say, okay, who do we have? And you're right, the change is gone. Who has the fattest checkbook to
Hmm.
who is the district?
Right.
Who best represents the district? Who looks like it, acts like it, and is the district?
Right.
And lives and breathes that district. And so they've gone out there to do that, and I mean, it's gone well. It's paid off right now, and as long as they continue to double down on that particular effort, as long as they continue to develop those grassroots, and it's interesting because you and I have been around the party for a very long time, and we've had before people who were grassroots, but we've had people who there were did came from the outside, or politics, and it's nice to have someone in there right now who can say they're from the grassroots, but not as a volunteer, but actually as someone who worked in the nuts and bolts of it,
Hmm.
who actually had to work her way up and walk precincts herself, um, go out and recruit candidates, understood what, because we used to joke around it. This was a long time ago. We used to fill out these damn Excel spreadsheets. And I mean, these things were huge. We used to call them MOASs. This was these Excel spreadsheets that we called MOASs, mother of all spreadsheets, because I mean, we had to record every single thing. It's,
Hmm.
if we made phone calls, was a phone answered? Was it, did they hang up on us? Was it the wrong number? When they answered, did they answer this way or that way? I mean, even when we did precinct walking, we had to answer. Was it a corner house? Did they have a dog? Uh, you know, did they have a fence in the front? I mean, we had to jot down
Right.
every single damn thing of this. I mean, it was annoying as hell back then because our reports that we had to do just took us an extra hour to fill out these reports, but they became handy because
Hmm.
now we knew it was a corner house, and if that corner house was a portal, we could put yard signs on two sides of the street. If we knew they had a dog, or they knew that there was a truck in the driveway, hey, we were going to send them information about being a pet owner, and it was amazing what
It
this
makes
was called.
politics personal. That's how
It,
you win, especially in a state
yeah,
that's blue.
yeah,
How do you win in a blue state? Well, I mean, first of all, you get people that are reflective of the community and are hardworking and have a good reputation outside of politics. And then
right.
you put together an organization that makes the campaigns personal and not about whatever the talking head on Fox or CNN or MSNBC is talking about, but about what people actually care about. And knowing what people actually care about, you can talk to them about that. So, they say all politics is local. All politics is also personal, the ones that's effective. And that's how you cut through if you have a negative, a label that has a negative connotation to it. That's how you're able to overcome that because where I grew up, it was the way you won was you won, 90% of the Republicans, which could probably fit in a bus. You won 50 to 55% of the independents or the decline to states. And then you won about 15 to 20% of the Democrats. So you had to put a campaign together to do that because it was so lopsided in Democrat registration. And that's how we won. It's because we had good candidates who reflected the community, knew how to talk, were credible, and an organization that backed them up, that made the politics local. I mean, made the politics personal as well as local.
Yeah.
And that's what they've been able to do in some of the places here. It's more difficult to do on the state level in a place like California. But by doing it at the congressional level, they really have made a difference, not just in California, but nationally.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing, at least for us who get to be a little bit on the outside, still kind of looking in, and we've got people who work on both sides of the aisle, kind of seeing the operations that are going on. It'll be interesting to see as everything kind of moves forward going into 2024, especially on the primary side. And you're right, you got the other side that is dominated with union money. They've got a lot of
Yeah.
walkers and organizers, and it's seen Republicans, organize like I haven't seen this in a long time, organize the way they have under this leadership. It's kind of nice to see,
And it's
and
it's
I'm
paying
hoping
off.
they could, yeah, and I'm hoping they could
That
be a little bit more relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's paying off, and they're winning.
Well, the
And I mean that no 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 when the things started coming, the results started coming in 2022, the congressional results, and it's like, oh, we're supposed to win here, boom, we lost. Hey, we're going to win here, boom, we lost. Oh, we're going to do well here, boom, we lost. I mean, when all of that started happening, usually what happens is there's a Republican wave that starts on the Atlantic, moves across the country, hits the Rocky Mountains, and dies, and never gets to California. This time, it was a shit show that started on the Atlantic Ocean and moved across the country. And then when it got to California, all of a sudden, things got better. So if that doesn't tell you the world is coming to an end, I don't know what does. But what it tells you is, and I think it's important for others outside of California to see, is there is a way to win when you're living in a blue state.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they've got they've put that magic sauce together, and I think they will continue to do that.
Well, and the thing is too is, right now we've got the end of session here at the California State Legislature, September 14th, and